Now look at the board. We've got information about indirect objects. All right. So an indirect object is a noun or pronoun that follows the action verb and answers the question to whom, to what, or for what, following the action verb. Okay, so you'll notice that our Bertram sentences, or at least some of them, are back. As is a list over here, this is a longer one, of questions to ask in pursuit of an indirect object. Okay, so let's start with Bertram saying. We've been down this road before. Bertram saying, what is the verb? The verb is saying. Is it an action verb? Yes, it is. If so, ask whom or what after the action verb. Bertram saying what? In this sentence, he doesn't say anything. That means we don't have a direct object. Since there is no direct object, we cannot have an indirect object. So you'll notice that step 4 in my expanded list here is a step you only go on to if there is a direct object. Just like if the verb that we find isn't an action verb, we're never going to look for a direct object in the first place. So what is the verb? Is it an action verb? If the answer were no, we wouldn't be talking about either of these kinds of objects anymore. If it is an action verb, you try to figure out if it's got a direct object. If it does, then it might also have an indirect object. This one doesn't have a direct object, so we're done until we go to the next sentence. Bertram sang a lullaby. Okay. What's the verb? Is it an action verb? Sang is a verb. It's our action verb. Since it is, we ask, sang whom or sang what? Bertram sang what? He sang a lullaby. So we get to go on to our fourth question. If there is a direct object, ask to whom, to what, or for what after the action verb. Okay, Bertram sang a lullaby to whom? We don't know. To what? We don't know. For whom, for what? We don't know. We don't really have anything else in the sentence. So we have an action verb, we have a direct object, we don't have an indirect object this time. So let's try it again. Bertram sang his pet cactus a lullaby. Okay, so what is our verb? It's sang. Is it action? Yes. Bertram sang what? We talked about this one when we were first talking about direct objects. And be careful. Bertram sang what? Bertram sang a lullaby. So here's our direct object. It's important that you think, like I said before, logically, so that you don't stumble into Bertram sang his pet cactus. No, he didn't. That doesn't make a lot of sense. Now, we have an action verb. It has a direct object. So we get to go on to question number 4. If there is a direct object, ask to whom, to what, or for what after the action verb. So Bertram sang a lullaby to whom or to what? We have an answer this time. This is cactus. Okay, so that is our indirect object. Bertram sang a lullaby. Bertram sang his cactus, that's the indirect object, a lullaby. Okay, so now we're going to look, same meaning, slightly different setup, and the differences matter here. Bertram sang a lullaby to his pet cactus. Okay, yes, we have a verb. Yes, it's an action verb. Bertram sang what? He sang a lullaby. To whom or to what? He sang it to his pet cactus. Now look, that information is actually stated in this sentence, even with the word to. To is a preposition as it is used here. And so in this case, it says to his pet cactus. This is a prepositional phrase. Okay, so what does that mean? That means that even though the information we are given is the same as in the previous sentence, because the structure is different, we don't have an indirect object. We have the information for an indirect object, but we don't actually have one. And if you look right here, there's a little note. But a word inside a prepositional phrase cannot be an indirect object or a direct object.